In fact, people in the United States are being called anti-Semites, a lot of them, including me, because they somehow don't believe that Israel has a right to this land.
Do you think Israel has a right to this land?
No, you haven't defined what the land is, and you haven't defined who Israel is, so I really don't know.
It is the land they're living in now, the borders that they have.
The borders are moving. The borders have moved in the last year.
What do you mean the borders have moved?
Well, they are the 1967 borders. I'm including, the
East
West
Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria.
Most political interviews are a script, but when Tucker Carlson sat down with Mike Huckabee, the script didn't just flip, it was shredded. For decades, Mike Huckabee has been the voice of the old guard GOP, using theology to justify Middle Eastern borders. But Tucker Carlson didn't come for a friendly chat. Tucker Carlson came with a logical sledgehammer.
What are the borders of Judea and Samaria?
Well, you basically take the Jordan River, and it's west of the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea, to the Lebanon border. And Israel did have control of the Sinai. They gave that to Egypt. They had control of it.
Right.
They gave it away in 1979 in the peace agreement.
But, okay.
So
whatever you call it, the land that was taken from Jordan in 1967, you call it Judea and Samaria. There's a significance to that I don't fully understand. I'm not against it.
It's the biblical
know what it's the biblical
terms. 80% of the Bible happened in Judea and Samaria.
But we've also established that the Bible gives Jews the right to occupy the land from the Nile to the Euphrates. So I'm very confused by why we've shrunk.
Genesis 15 says the land goes from the Nile to the Euphrates. That's half the Middle East. Tucker Carlson asks a devastatingly simple question. If Mike Huckabee believes God gave them all that land, why is Mike Huckabee okay with the borders shrinking?
The land, and why we're
Israel has shrunk the land. They have made that decision. That's why they gave away Gaza. They gave away the Sinai.
Now's the part
They've
for
given
the
away
real
a lot
question.
of things.
Abram's descendants are the ones who have the right to have this land, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we do genetic testing on everybody in the land and find out who Abram's descendants are? It's really simple. We've cracked the human genome. We can do that. Why don't we do that? Would you be against doing that?
So, Tucker Carlson drops the biology bomb. He asks Mike Huckabee, why don't we just do DNA testing on everyone in the land?
I have no idea what that would prove. I mean,
Really?
maybe it would be.
What do you mean? It would prove who Abram's descendants are and who has a right to live here and who doesn't, according to the theology that you yourself just explained. And so I'm very confused as to why we don't do that. If you believe the theology that you've just explained to me.
Would we do that all over the world?
Well,
and everybody
this is the only country in the world that you've said has this covenant with God, that this people have a moral and legal right to the land.
What about people who convert to Judaism? Would they have a right?
Well, you've just said.
I mean,
that
there are
it's
converts to Judaism, so
you just told
they
me
can make Aliyah. They may not have.
You've just
DNA.
told me that it doesn't matter. You told me moments ago, I'm trying to keep track.
Okay.
That it doesn't matter whether or not you believe in God or whether or not you practice Torah Judaism or Rabbinic Judaism, which is something else that I don't even know if we should, I don't even know what that means. But it doesn't matter whether you're, quote, a religious Jew or not. What matters is that you are part of the Jewish people to whom God gave this land that extends from the Nile to the Euphrates. And so if you believe that, wouldn't you want to know with a burning passion who those people are? And because of science, we can now know who those people are. So why aren't we finding out?
I guess you could propose a DNA test for everybody who comes here, everybody who lives here. But the point
I'm comfortable with secular nation states where none of this is done on the basis of blood. I'm uncomfortable with that. I'll just say that.
But there are people who may not have bloodlines, but who have converted to Judaism.
This segment is the logic check. Tucker Carlson pushes Mike Huckabee on the issue of conversion. If a person from Japan converts to Judaism tomorrow, they get a right of return to Israel, but they don't have Abraham's DNA.
Are they going to be able to live here? Are you going to kick them out?
By your standards, they can't live here.
No,
because you've just told me that they have a right to live here because God gave them the land because they're the descendants of Abram.
They're the descendants of Abraham. But if they're the spiritual descendants of Abraham and they've now decided that they're converting to Judaism, then do they have a right to live in Israel?
Well, there's a whole legal literature in Israel on that question. And My understanding is that certain types of modern Judaism qualify a person and other types don't. Is that your understanding?
Think about the pressure on Mike Huckabee here. If Mike Huckabee says yes, he risks finding out that many modern leaders don't have that ancient DNA. If Mike Huckabee says no, he admits that his bloodline argument is just a metaphor. Tucker Carlson isn't just asking a question. He's challenging the very ethnic foundation of Mike Huckabee's foreign policy.
I don't believe that people converted, and I could have this wrong, but I know people who've faced this personally, people. I don't believe people who've converted in a Reform synagogue have the right of return. I don't think that is, because I know people who've married into Jewish families and they find out they don't have the right of return. So, in fact, people in the United States are being called anti-Semites, a lot of them, including me, because they somehow don't believe that Israel has a right to this land.
Finally, Tucker Carlson addresses the elephant in the room. He tells Mike Huckabee that people who ask these questions are usually labeled anti-Semites to shut them up. The comment section is about to explode. I want to hear from you. Did Tucker Carlson go too far, or did Mike Huckabee fail to defend his position? Subscribe for the next deep dive, and let's keep this conversation going. Go.